look back at the 2005 Absa Off-Road Championship season continues with the Toyota 1000 Desert Race. Gaborone, the capital of Botswana, has hosted the event for the last 24 years, and with its horde of spectators, it always makes for great racing. Alfie Cox and Ralph Pitchford had not yet reached the level of consistency they did later on in the year, but they were working on it. They won the prologue over 40 Ks. Groble and Jordan in the Nissan Hardbody were on a mission to repeat as champions and had a healthy lead in the race for national honours. Despite this mishap, they nabbed second. Nissan Sugarbelt 400 special vehicle winners Gary Bertelt and Siegfried Rousseau again set the fastest time in the category. They were on song in the advanced soft bat, and the locals loved it. Atang Makgeghenene and Bux Carolyn, who's won this event twice, were fourth overall and going like a Boeing, while Cox and Pitchford had the crowd gasping with their electric speed too. Former Class E champions Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin in the Castrol Toyota Hilux were the runners-up in Botswana in 04 and were looking to go one better, with Weir Smith and Minute showing scant regard for the Botswana bush. Schroeder and Harris had got themselves two good starts to the season and were confident of building on that in the Team Ford Racing Ranger. It was certainly not a case of a bridge too far for Total Motorsport's Shamir Variawa and VZ van Sail. They had to start at the back of the field after some early trouble, but were storming through. Arnold du Plessis and John Knox and their Nissan were impressive early on and kept a lot of the bigger name teams at bay. Zematin and Zwegler were 13th in the ever-ready Mastercraft Ryobi Pajero, and they were third in class. Cronje and Houghton, a four-time winner of the event as a co-driver, were right on Zematin's tail despite evidence on the car to the contrary. Zane Pearson and Yves Vosloo and the Castrol Toyota Hilux were trying to find the right line and not to get the engine too wet either. While Don Thompson and Wally Pule in their aging Sandmaster felt right at home in the Botswana bush, mud and water, leading Class B. Corbett and Goosen were doing everything just right in building on their fine showing at Darling. Marcus Taylor and Mark de Chalane in a JRE had driven like maniacs and picking up 30 places to finish 17th overall. But there would be trouble for Groble and Jordan. They damaged the steering and the proudly South African Nissan hardbody and had to try and sort it out. Andre Botha and Richard Carolyn racing the big old Chevy for the Kopanong Hotel Super Team found the car and the terrain matching very well, thank you very much. With the Plastotech team of Richard Schilling and Chris Davies, who were leading Class S in the ASCO, also going well through the water. The Baden Tyre Services car was being guided by Thomas Rundle and Stavros Giannakis, but they were battling electric demons. But Cox and Pitchford had built up a 7-minute lead in the category and 14 minutes overall. Atang and Bux were cruising along at full tilt. But for the defending champ, there was trouble. Big trouble. The car was sounding a bit ill. Missing body parts and a light or two lighter, the Castrol Toyota team of Cronje and Houghton was one of only 34 surviving crews with more than 400 Ks to go. The crowds were as loud as ever. And Zematin and Zwegler put on a real show for them, going for another world record finish. Makgeghenene and Carolyn nipped into the lead in the total Jimco when Bertelt and Rousseau stopped to change a wheel. While Paulo Piazzamusa and Oki Fourie had picked up no less than 45 places, zipping straight into the top 12. The bat of father and son Nick and Ryan Harper had done even better. They were 52nd at the start, but had zoomed into 4th in the special vehicle category. Reigning champions Taylor and Shalane were 2nd in Class B and 17th overall. With George Barkhuizen and Rod Herring and their Toyota in 2nd in Class E. Zane Pierce and Henny Vosloo had the Class E win all sewn up. They just had to get to the finish line. While veteran Richard Schilling and Chris Davies were the sole survivors in Class S in the ACECO, they were also just looking for that finish line. John Thompson and Clinton McNamara in the Zarko were the epitome of steadiness. But the crowd love a winner, and that Alfie Cox certainly is. After winning on 2 wheels in Botswana regularly, he and his co-driver Ralph Pitchford, who himself has been victorious here on 2 wheels, came through for a very popular first win. Makhegenene and Carolyn crossed the line 2nd, making it a 2nd consecutive win here in the special vehicle class. The Nissan Hardbody crew won after almost 15 hours of racing with a 22-minute margin. Variawa and Van Zyl were 2nd to the Flying Jimco, but they were a distant 30 minutes back. Round 4 trekked off to the Pilanesberg and Sun City for one of the most popular events on the calendar, the Sun City 400. And with valuable championship points up for grabs, the competition would be tough. The halfway mark of the season was approaching, and the teams had sorted themselves out properly. At the top of the production class points log, Grobler and Jordan had a healthy lead, but only 10 points separated the next 6 crews, so the scene was set for some epic racing in hot and dry conditions. The special vehicles, and it was Makhegenene and Carolyn, with just 5 points separating them. To top that, there was only 23 points from 1st to 10th. However, the leaders, due to business commitments, were not racing. The defending production car champ Hannes Grobler and his 05 navigator Francois Jordan set the fastest time in their Nissan Hardbody over the testing 45k prologue. On the other side of the coin, Gary Bertelt and Siegfried Rousseau were setting the fastest time for the special vehicles for the 4th time in a row. Again, the conditions were hot, dusty and very dry. But Du Plessis and Seegers didn't care a bit. Coming off a win just a few weeks earlier, Cox and Pitchford ran into some navigational problems, but soldiered on to clinch 2nd in the production car class. John Weir Smith and Jeff Minnett brought the Kopenhagen Hotel Super Team Racing Jimco home 4th. While the Walks, Robert and Gareth also put together a solid showing. Marsh and Whitehouse and the Nashua Mobile Bat were looking for a finish to take the lead at the top of the class. With Clint Gibson and his father Rob Gibson really getting stuck in and again showing up the bigger name teams. Shamir Variawa and VZ Van Zyl in the Total Porter were as solid as always in 5th place on the log for special vehicles. Back in the production class and in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, Mark Cronier and Chris Birkin were 3rd in category behind the 2 Nissan Hardbodies. But the number 1 car out there was in trouble. Grobler and Jordan shared off a prop shaft and lost more than 30 minutes. Which meant that there was a complete shake-up. The wily old veteran Richard Schilling and Chris Davies were having a fine ride in their Plastotech ACECO and were leading in Class S. Schroeder and Harris made a move in the Ford. With the Century Properties racing bat of Jean Moore and Jason Brever not even batting an eyelid for the water hazard. And here's the reason these guys share the brotherhood that they share. Despite losing time of their own earlier, Grobler and Jordan stopped to help a stricken team. Du Plessis and Knox were powering their way through the field and they were 13th overall and 3rd in Class D. Battershill and Sutton were flying along in their Sandmaster. Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin also going well, leading in Class D and shooting for second overall. The Harpers also travelling well, and young Ryan's motorbike experience and reading of the terrain was invaluable to his old man. Evan Hutchison and Trevor Ormerod in the Motorite battered at a spirited run and moved from 30th overall to 7th in Class B and 11th overall. The Walks were also impressive and had a good clean run to the line. Meanwhile, Schilling and Davies were flowing along. The former off-road national champ had lost none of his finesse. The BB Auto Nissan of Arnold du Plessis and John Knox was still sounding well, and so it should have. It was on the way to a best ever showing. Taylor and Deshalane in their JRE were being closed down by the bat of Hutchison as the race started counting down the Ks. A steady drive by Skuman and Syme in the top car Nissan was rewarded with the first finish of the year and a 4th place overall and 3rd in Class D. Archie Rutherford and Vincent Horn took a cautious line through the deep water on their way to a well-earned 2nd place in Class A and 10th overall. The du Plessis brothers Yuri and Andre took 4th in Class D and they were 5th overall. After giving away time with 2 different problems, Grobler again launched through the field and finished 6th after being 49th at one stage. Gavin Cronje and Houghton's efforts were rewarded with a 7th place overall in the production car class. While the Tyco Trucks Toyota Fisser and Badenhorst was the first Class E car across the line. Thompson and McNamara took a well-deserved 3rd place in Class B and surprised by taking 11th overall amongst the special vehicles. The Nell Newbury combination finished their 3rd point scoring race in a row and obviously enjoyed the experience. While Zamatin and Zwegler nursed home the Pajero for their 18th consecutive finish, yet another world mark. Bevan Bartelt and his nav Nixela Malela and the I-Burst bat were going along well, but then had to retire on the 3rd lap after suffering steering belt problems. At the finish at the Sun City Recreation Area, it was Gerard du Plessis and Fandi Segers who took line honours, and the Dio had almost 25 minutes to spare over Marsh and Whitehouse in 2nd place. Cox and Pitchford were home in 5 hours and 46 minutes, and that gave them a cushion of more than half an hour over Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin. Du Plessis and Knox starred in 3rd place, while Skuman and Syme got their first finish of the season and 4th overall. For the special vehicles, Weir Smith and Minute chased all the way in 3rd and were only 41 seconds shy. The Harpers held off Hutchison and Ormerod, while the Walks took 7th.